So, this is the Hipster Snack, and today we are bringing you more Tomodachi Bro goodness. Joining me today are the bros, Clockwork Fiction.
Hello.
I was about to say, that's your cue.
By a dinosaur.
He got stepped on by a dinosaur, so his reaction time's a bit dulled now.
Yeah, I gotta wake up here a little bit. Stop.
So, and also, obviously, is Mr. Dutaku.
I am armed and very dangerous.
He has a bear. It's very, very scary.
Oh, she's not very scary. She's just a bear. She's sitting by me right now.
I can barely believe it.
You know, I've been threatened more than once to be sent to the moon by my parents for bad puns like that, though.
Well, I mean, fair. So today, let's kick it off with our brief nerd news segment. What have you guys brought to the table today?
All right, I'll go first. Quick punch, punches. Evo's going on right now at the time of this recording. Lots of fun to be had. Game announcements. They're working. The KOF developers are working furiously on the new Garo game. Garo. Fatal Fury, game. Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Lots of fun to be had there. If you're a D&D fan, they've been working very, very hard to make it as D&D specific as possible within the Baldur's Gate series. And there's also a ton of little things here and there, which is really interesting and not enough I can't throw it into the segment without taking 2 hours, unfortunately. There is a rumor going around, and a couple websites have talked about it, and I've been kind of keeping up with it, that around the midsection of 2024, they're supposed to either announce or possibly release, or Nintendo's supposed to release a Nintendo Switch 2, which there's not really a lot of details or anything, but they apparently, a couple places are like, yeah, it's coming around. It's coming around. So I'll keep an ear on that and see what's going on. Project L was at Evo that a lot of people have been interested in. It's pretty much a 2v2 fighter, a la Marvel vs. Capcom 1 or Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, whichever one you would like to think of first. Lots of crazy mechanics, really, really stylized and looks really, really nice. Can't wait to get my actual hands on it. If you are a fan of, or not Cyberpunk, that's the wrong one. If you're a fan of Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future, the spiritual successor, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk releases this month. I believe it was the 20th. I could be wrong on that. I do apologize, as I did not have it right up in my eyes at the moment. If you do like that, we'll check that out. And then one little story that caught my eye that I thought that was really, really interesting. The company that made Remnant, Gunfire Games, released Remnant 2. They had an issue while during development that they didn't want all of their secrets of the game to be just exposed by data miners. But instead of doing that, they decided to make a puzzle in the game where one of the archetypes you could play was hidden behind kind of like a puzzle. And the long and short of it is that it came up to a corrupted door that nobody could access or open until a gentleman using the handle Barut, B-A-R-U-T, however you want to say that, with 12 Red Bulls and Chat GPT, was able to systematically find out that apparently there's a couple of corrupted items you can equip to make what they call a full corrupted build, and you could open the door with it. And there's apparently nothing in the game that would point you to that. You had to either figure that out yourself or data mine the game and use the hints that were given to you likewise. And I want to say that is a very, very interesting way of getting your players interested in the game, even if they're not actually playing the game. That's one way of doing it.
Well, okay.
That sounds like something that I would have done as a DM. Speaking of, speaking of, we're in the Dungeons and Dragons factory. It's like Gary Gygax was, Henry Ford, and we're here. Here we are at the Dungeons and Dragons assembly line, and you notice the little gnomes, and they all got their little scribe pens, and they're making sure that there's top quality trademark Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, and a correction. August 18th is when Bomber Servo comes out, not the 20th. I was 2 days off. But yes, that is my news that I have written down.
Everyone go ahead and go to Clockwork's house. That's 24 Clockwork Lane. Go there and tar and feather him. Be sure to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bun boy. Don't worry. They evolve from crabs. They don't feel pain.
For correcting my misinformation that I have owned up to. I see how it is.
Bun boys are evolved from crabs, so they don't actually have nerves. They don't feel pain. So you can feel perfectly at ease tarring and feathering him to your heart's delight.
Yeah, that's why I play the tank all the time in Final Fantasy. I don't feel no pain.
Exactly.
Or suffering.
My bit of nerd news, I have to complain about something. Surprise, surprise. They started a new Superman animated series. Spoiler alert, it sucks. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And the threshold that broke me was they made Mr. Mixapitalik look like a rejected Dragon Ball Super character. And yes, I'm mad. I'm mad about it.
I've seen some clips and everything of the show and people complaining about other stuff too.
It started off with the whole OMG, Tomboy Lois Twitter Discord. And I was like, you know what? The DC animated movies typically are really good. So I was like, I should watch a little bit of this. And then I'm like, Superman's in character. Superman is Superman. But all the villains suck. A lot of the design changes suck. And I'm sorry, Tomboy Lois Lane is super mid. TAS Lois Lane for the win. Fight me in the comment section.
Oof.
It sucks. If you want a good...
I hear the torch and pitchforks being lit already.
Oh, please, not my first rodeo. I'm still getting comments to this day of people like, "How dare you say Final Fantasy X sucked?" I'm like, bruh, it's a joke. Just relax. It's just aggressively below average. It's not even terrible.
No, I mean it's impressive for her, how convoluted and stupid the story got.
Yeah,
and, I will say that the story for 10 is absolutely stupid.
Yeah, it's like
explain to me how. Oh, it's time travel, and we have basically there's a kaiju that is like the sins of this entire world, which basically God wears as a suit, and there's the hopes and dreams and fears of this one civilization are basically attached to this phantom that is basically takes the shape of what amounts to an NFL superstar, and that's how we stop this cycle. How is that not stupid? Because that's basically what 10 is.
Yeah, no, but I'm sorry. If you guys want a good animated Superman, we have it. It's called Superman the Animated Series, and it was amazing. And I'm going to say it. I'm just going to start this entire episode off with a bunch of controversial takes. Superman the Animated Series was better than Batman the Animated Series. I'm sorry, it just was.
I honestly remember it better than the most I remember from Batman the Animated Series is there was this one episode where it was all the villains basically playing poker, and it was the constant joke was the I want to say Killer Croc. Basically, his entire thing was like, "Oh yeah, how'd you beat Batman? Oh, I threw a rock at him."
I remember that. I remember that episode actually.
Yeah.
See, I don't hate Batman the Animated Series. I'm just saying Superman was better, and I think it was possibly the best incarnation of the character we've ever gotten.
I don't know. I'd argue that the Christopher Reeves films.
I like that movie a lot, especially the first one.
There's
and
4 of them. Dude.
No. I misspoke. It's like I liked the first one a lot. The second one was also really, really good. I didn't see 3 and 4, so it's kind of hard for me to weigh judgment all the way across all of them. Is what I was trying to say.
4 had Nuclear Man.
Yeah, I saw.
He wasn't
like
he wasn't Nuclear Man. He was Nuclear Man.
Nuclear Man. Yes. So, do you have any nerd news for us, Yutaku?
I mean, apart from the fact that I started playing Fate Extella Link again because I got it for my Switch, and I'm like, I like this game, and honestly, there's not much else that I really want to play on my Switch right now, and there's not really much that I really want to play just in terms of new games, because every single new game I see, I'm like, wow, okay, let's see what's new. All right, I'm going to go back to playing old things now. So I'm just, indulging my love of Fate, also my love of the Fate Extra universe. And it's one of those things of, if little Jimmy came up to me and went, Yutaku, where should I start with Fate? I'm like, not Fate Extra. It's like the most convoluted, like subsetting of Fate that there is.
Yeah, no, that's true facts. So that said, actually, Yutaku's love of older games, especially older MMOs, is actually why we're here today. Because this sassy little Pugum was like, hey, Sneck, there's this game. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, it's a Star Wars game. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, it's an MMO, and it was made by BioWare. And I was like, okay, I'm hitting download. What else do I need to know? And so we started playing it, and I'm like, okay, the dialogue is like super BioWare, because my options for talking are like agree, neutral, and disagree. But I agree, and then I end up saying something completely different and unintended and had nothing to do with the particular like train of thought that I was on when I accepted to agree. I was like, this is BioWare as all get out.
Yeah, basically there's this one ProZD skit that I remember, and I distinctly remember when I was telling you about it, I was like, this reminds me of that one ProZD skit where it's like dialogue trees, where they don't tell you what you actually say. And it's like, you agree. It's like, hello, you SOB. Agree. Yes, I'm going to kill your family. It's like,
I agree with that, but I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah, it's like that. That's basically the way it is. And so I was playing I am playing a Sith warrior. And like I was trying to be, kind of even keeled and, the completely in control of the situation type of character. And yet I was just coming off as like very passive aggressive, where I'm like, oh, you're so strong. I bet you'd be a great warrior of the dark side. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, you are really, really annoying there, my own character that I'm playing.
That's like, I get a little less of that because, as no one at home is surprised to learn, I'm playing a Jedi, and it's a Guardian is like the broad family, and Sage is the specific class that I'm working on. So I'm kind of like the healer of the Jedi. And
you're like a tank healer, yeah.
Yeah, tank healer. And my whole thing is like my character is really, really like aggressively earnest. And so she's just like, yes, I had the best masters in the universe, so that's why I'm strong, obviously. Like I'm not like amazing as my teachers are super amazing. And I'm like, if you were any more earnest, like I think you would literally just transform into Ernest from the Ernest films. Because you're just like dripping with enthusiasm the entire time. And these weird, quirky little stories that Yutaku and I have been banting back and forth as we get into progressively weirder and weirder territory in these games is like, wow, when Star Wars is good, it's actually like really good. It actually has interesting things going on and fun worlds to explore and neat stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the movies are still married to like the same 3 planets and the same like city street, because like everyone in the story was born on the same city street.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, like the KOTOR games, like KOTOR 1 and 2, which is kind of what these games are based off of, kind of did that too. You know, we have to go to Tatooine. We have to go to Coruscant. Well, which, I mean, makes more sense because it literally is like the capital of, you know, the entire like galactic area.
Right.
But you have to go to Tatooine. You have to, you know, they go to Dagobah. They have to go to Hoth. You know, it's all these like places that you go to that they went to in the movies. Whereas, you know, it's alluded to, and this is kind of a thing that I really appreciate in the first trilogy is that there's like this, they allude to all these things. And, you know, everyone kind of nods and it's like, yeah, that makes sense because they understand that this is, you know, these are other places in this universe. Whereas, you know, it's not just, I don't know. They're just like, oh yeah, you know, it's not, you know,
it's not
flavor
diverting.
text.
It's not diverting from the norm that we're used to. It's not like a brand new world or anything like that we haven't seen before. They're just kind of going through the, oh, I remember that place from that one movie or show, etc. and so forth. Is that what you're trying to go through?
Well, kind of, but I mean, I think that honestly, the way that the world was presented in the original trilogy and to a lesser extent to the prequels, I mean, because honestly, I think that Lucas had a better handle on it. And you know, here's going to be my hot take. It's like, you know, all right, you know, okay, I'm gonna be that one guy. Honestly, I'm gonna say it. I was there when it happened. I was one of those weirdos that actually saw the prequels like when they came out because I was like a huge. I mean, I still am. Star Wars is a big deal out of my life. One of the very first films, if not the first film I ever saw, was the original Episode 4 with my grandmother and my grandfather. You know, I was 3 years old and I saw this and I'm like going, wow, this is a really cool movie. There's like, you know, space wizards and there's like airplanes flying around shooting each other. You know, this is awesome. And, you know, so it's been a huge part of me, you know, growing up into the incredibly jaded nerd that I am now.
Mm-hmm. Also,
but,
I was going to ask just between Sneck and Titaku, both of you. Sneck said that he played a Jedi. Have any of you played a Sith character in the game yet?
My main is a Sith warrior. It's basically I am a tank DPS, whereas Sneck is a tank healer.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's just the way that the game is kind of weird how they kind of like, yeah, you have your kind of family of archetypes that you can be, and then it's further kind of granularized into like specific skill sets. But getting back to my point, I'm like, the original, I was there. Prequels are not as bad. I never thought they were bad. I didn't think that they were as good as the original trilogy, but I didn't think they were bad. I mean, I honestly thought that Attack of the Clones was kind of lame there in the middle, but, you know, that might have just been the fact that, you know, even as a awkward, weird teenager, I'm like, you know, this is not how people fall in love.
Well, it also had the unfortunate position of being the second in a trilogy, which is usually the awkward one. And Lucas really likes writing political intrigue and clearly does not have a whole lot of experience writing romance. And one of the biggest differences in the original trilogy versus the prequel trilogy is in the prequel trilogy, Lucas was kind of taken off the leash. And they're like, okay, just do whatever you want. Whereas in the original trilogy, a lot more of his advisors were like, hey, you know, maybe we should dial this part back a little bit. And having someone to keep him well balanced really is the secret to getting really good Star Wars stories from the original source material. When he gets to go nuts, you get some pacing issues, which I think was my biggest complaint with the prequel trilogies. It's just like, okay, some stuff happens a little bit faster than it should, and some of the timeline doesn't really make sense because in episode 4 it made it sound like the Force had not been a religion for like hundreds or thousands of years, but then it turns out that Order 66 happened like 30 years before, and I'm like that's a little odd because like even if you weren't a Jedi, you at least were like familiar with the concept.
Yeah, there were Jedi around, like, that would be like 20 years ago. There wouldn't be, any more, like vegetarians.
So I have
20 years from now, there wasn't meat vegetarians. People would be like, vegetarians, they haven't existed for thousands of years. They're a dead religion.
Please, we should not be so fortunate.
So I got a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I don't like sand. It's so sandy and it gets everywhere.
All right, Clockwork, you're going down the stairs again.
That's not how the quote goes.
To kind of catch up because my thought process has fallen behind when it comes to Old Republic. I've played a lot of it, and I wasn't fully aware you guys were playing it. The subclasses, the reason they do that is because every class has its own story, and they are pretty different they're not super different from each other. The three classes have like their own story, but I believe the subclasses are all the same.
It's like all the Jedi share a story, all the Sith share a story, and like the bounty hunters have their own story, kind of thing.
Exactly, yes. Well, the Guardian Jedi and the Sorcerer or Assassin Jedi both have a different story. It's the classes themselves that do that one, because it's like you said, there's like three sections. Like there's the smuggler, the bounty or the smuggler, the Guardian Jedi, and the Sorcerer Jedi, which the Sorcerer Jedi can be like the sage / the assassin, and then like the Guardian.
I think the game has changed since you last played it, because that's a little different now.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, because what happens is like the stories may still be segregated exactly the way you just described it, but mechanically, when you're making your character, I chose a Guardian and I had all 4 archetypes available. But you could also choose like the other one that's like the more shadowy one, but you will still have all 4 options. You'll get the different story, I think, but it just allows you to have the mechanical nuance for like what class you want to play, I think. Because I'm playing a Guardian. I'm a Guardian Sage, so.
And I have to admit, playing through a decent amount of both stories, I like the Sith story better. And if you're going what I like to call, which they call the light side route, I just call it the lawful evil route, to be perfectly honest. Because it's just like you're not wonton killing everybody in sight. You're like, oh, this guy I taught this guy a lesson with my incredible force lightning powers. Now he'll listen to me. So instead of killing him, I'm going to use him for my greater good. Instead of, okay, cool, I beat you. Now you're dead.
Meanwhile, I'm. Yeah.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Clockwork, you play a Sith sorcerer. That is so surprising to me. Wow. I bet you're the strongest Sith sorcerer ever. See, that's my light side Sith warrior speaking right there.
I mean, I don't want to spoil any stories. We do get pretty powerful story wise and everything. And this is the story about the Old Republic, which unfortunately is not canon anymore. I don't think it is, at least.
Well, we'll touch on that momentarily because I don't want to go to the dark place yet.
And also to catch up on Tataku's point about the original trilogy, I did also watch the original trilogy very young, and I never really had a problem with the old series, but I want to preface that I've heard a lot about the prequel trilogy and how like the original trilogy is as good as it is, because it was kind of like, as it was explained to me, and I don't know if it's 100% true or not, it's like George Lucas has a bunch of ideas, and then he has a couple people sift those ideas and pick out the good ones, and they make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just let him just going crazy and just putting everything in the movie, then you get the prequel trilogy, which is not terrible, but definitely I don't feel as good as the original.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's pretty infamous that like the things that were cut out of the OT. For instance, if George Lucas had his way, Luke would have been in his 60s. He would have had a robot head. Han Solo would have been an alien and would have basically been like an Italian Guido style, like slime ball. It's pretty clear that, he is very much an idea guy, and he needs people who have like strong editorial control over him. That's the best way he works. And I can speak to that. Snack kind of, fulfills that for me too.
I help bring Butaku in sometimes.
Yeah. But I mean, I'll say this, there's certainly an artistic vision to it. I mean, the fact that they're still memed 20 years on, and it's like part of our collective, popular culture, that we're still like, hello there, General Kenobi, or, this is getting out of hand. Oh, there are two of them. It's like, we still like quote it. So, there's something there, I think.
Yeah, there definitely is. And even though I will say the prequel trilogy is weaker than the OT, Lucas was, again, taken off his leash and he went a little crazy, and some things he did were not his writing forte. But he dared to do something different, and he tried to, and people got really salty. I remember the midichlorian thing was like one of those things that like a lot of the diehard fans got like really bent out of shape about. But I would argue 2 points. One, the series is rife with retcons. Luke and Leia were very clearly not supposed to be siblings when the story was first written. And they literally admitted that the Force Ghosts thing was like an 11th hour thing where they're like, oh, yeah, there's like if you're that strong with the Force and you die, you become Force Ghost. That's the thing.
Okay. Fanboys, grognards, before the femboy, catboy assassins come and kill you, in order to enact Order 69. Just go back and rewatch Empire Strikes Back. The part where Leia kisses Luke, is that the way that siblings kiss each other?
Because it is.
Because I have a number of little sisters, and we have never smooched like that before.
Which is just proof that you're never going to become an isekai protagonist, Itaku.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Unless I already am.
I made that joke. I went there.
Dark.
And like that's the thing, because like I'm not pretending for an instant that the prequels are flawless, but I am saying there's a lot of value here. And like, when I was a kid, I should clarify that I was like a young teen when the prequels first started coming out, and my parents had been big Star Wars fans, so of course
you were younger than me. You're younger than me, and yet so you would be not even a teen at that point if you're talking about Episode 1.
Yeah, so
I wasn't even a teen when Episode 1 happened.
So it would have been around the time we were like 11 or 12. Am I remembering that right? So my parents were already Star Wars fans. I got on the train a little bit later than some people did, but I saw the original trilogy. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm down. And so we went to see Episode 1. And Duel of Fates was one of those moments where like my jaw just dropped, because this has had unreal choreography and cinematography, and that music. Oh my God, that music. Just the entire moment with Darth Maul was just one of the coolest things I had ever seen in a theater before. And I was just like, this is awesome.
There's a reason why, even though he only has like 3 lines and he basically is on screen for like maybe 10 minutes, that there's an entire class which basically boils down to
you get to do that.
Star Wars The Old Republic. You basically become Maul, and you effectively get the dual lightsaber, and you get to do the woohoo, I'm flipping around and stuff. Yeah, he's had a huge impact on how people see Sith warriors.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you guys a fun bit of trivia. Maybe you knew this, and maybe you didn't. But in the original trilogy, lightsabers were actually made out of glass, so they couldn't like slam them together at all. So the style of fighting you see is more inspired by fencing. So the lightsaber fights in the original trilogy are more slow and very deliberate. which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying it's different. When they got around to making the prequel trilogy, technology had advanced. They didn't need glass lightsabers anymore. They could break these things for all they cared, and it wouldn't cost them any money. And so they were able to do like flips and throwing them around, doing all this crazy stuff, which I think Lucas wanted to do from the start anyway, but just couldn't for practical purposes. So it's like you see the way the styles change and evolve as the technology advances. And I think that's just one of those things that I think is just really, really cool.
Oh, it's like in Tokusatsu series from like the 80s, like Kamen Rider Black. You look and you see, and if you actually look at the choreography, you'll realize they're actually not doing like those series of movements. And I don't recall if it was either you or Cog who were like, the reason why is because of the material that these suits are made out of is actually really, really, really delicate, and they have to be very, very careful.
Yep.
And yet, then you get to Matai Night Zaro, and they're like, flipping around, and, like,
slamming into each other as hard as they can. Yeah, because like the older suits would get torn to shreds.
Yeah, the material by the time of Makai Night Garo is actually significantly hardier to the point that they basically could flip around and tumble in these things.
Yep. And another thing is they could actually afford to get them wet. That was actually like a huge problem for a long, long time, where they would either have to CG it or just not let the suits get in water. In fact, a way they actually made this very dramatic was Kamen Rider Fies, where they would have several fights happen along a beach, and as soon as these suits get wet, they got like waterlogged really, really bad. It wasn't until I believe Kamen Rider Hibiki was where they completely redesigned the suits, and they were like, oh yeah, we have this new material and it's super shiny. Oh, and guess what? We can get it wet and it won't hurt anything. So yeah, that's why you actually see more water-themed riders nowadays. Same kind of technological advancement. It's all very cool from a behind-the-scenes standpoint. I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
anyways, I mean, the main thing that I wanted to talk about, and the thing that kind of prompted a lot of our bants back and forth, is the fact that like the overarching philosophy for both the Sith and the Jedi is like absolutely ridiculous.
It is dumb. It is absolutely rock stupid.
So I can't really speak to the Jedi, but I'm going to be the one to say this. First off, I think the Sith philosophy is fascinating, but at the same time, it's like it is very much like them going, okay, what's the most evil thing we can think of? And how do we make it like seem palatable that people would go, yes, this is a thing that I'd want to do. The problem is that it basically boiled down to Stormwood-drawn philosophy. Where they're like, yes, emotion is power. Power will allow you to get stronger so you can dominate your enemies. And that's true freedom. And it's like, all you need is like, blood and soil nationalism. And that's basically Stormwood-drawn philosophy from Germany.
Okay, here's the bit. Like I had to look it up, so I don't remember the oath exactly. But the Jedi Code reads as follows: there is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. This is stupid. Like there are bits that I get, but like. The Jedi are like, oh, we are above attachment. We're like these weird Buddhist monks, like that supposedly have this weird ascetic training that they're like, oh, we have no attachment. Like early on,
it kind of reminds me. They were likened the way that they were presented in the prequels. Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with this. Is that they basically are boiled down to like. Do you not like this? My bear singing to me. She's very upset. I guess she doesn't like the fact that we're bashing the prequels. Basically, they are like, yeah, basically the Jedi are like the mullahs in Iran. And so that just tickled me to no end because that reminded me a lot of, in turn, another thing, the Buddhist Muslim basically the Fremen, who are basically Buddhist Muslims, and that's basically, I think, would be a good analog to the Jedi. They're basically Buddhist Muslims. Now, what sect of Buddhist Muslim they are, I couldn't tell you.
There's a bit really early in Knights of the Republic, and like the thing that just irked me to no end. I was sent to this mission where there was a band of Twilight pilgrims, I swear I'm literate, who were under attack by these things called the Flesh Raiders, who were they're basically supposed to be these big dumb animals that happen to inhabit the swamps on this planet. And the Jedi have to be there because, like, their home planet is currently dilapidated and because the Jedi Temple was destroyed by the Sith in this point in history. So we're here.
Gang, rise up.
And what happens is suddenly these Flesh Raiders are like using blasters and swords and stuff that they like should be well outside of their understanding. So they're like, something is definitely wrong. Someone is leading them. And these pilgrims are actually here illegally. As far as the Federation is concerned, we have to act and do something, but we don't know if we want to do something. And so they kind of hem and haw for a bit until they're finally like, okay, yeah, we should probably send a Jedi to actually do something about this. So I went, and we see this widower whose wife was killed by the Flesh Raiders, and he's angry, and he's calling us out, and he's pointing out every single wrong thing that the Jedi have done up to this point. The dude's like 100% right, by the way. And my master is just like, oh, this is why Jedi don't have attachment. Because, if a Jedi had attachment and suffered a great loss, they'd fly off the handle, and then you'd have like a super coked up Force user swinging their anger around. And I'm like, so instead of going mad with grief, you'd rather them go mad from isolation and loneliness. That sucks, master. I'm just going to be honest. That's really dumb.
Meanwhile, in the Sith Warrior, they had a situation whereupon the Dark Lord that you were apprenticed under goes, oh yeah, the Overseer that took you in and basically treated you like you're like you were one of his children. Yeah, you got to go kill him now because he's basically proved to be too weak. And so you're given the choice of either just straight up going, okay, and just killing him, or going, hey, I don't need to kill you. I just need, technically speaking, I just need your hand. So you can just cut off his hand and then let him go. So
that just seems to be a thing among Sith, doesn't it?
No, it just seems to be a thing with Jedi, just cutting people's limbs off.
And it's like,
but I suppose, if you have a sword that can cut through literally anything, it's one of those like, when all you have is a hammer, the entire world looks like a nail.
Yep. And there are parts of the Oath that I generally agree with. Like, the one in particular, there is no passion, there is serenity, kind of makes me think of G Gundam. It's like, you must have a serene state of mind, Domon. It's like, yeah, no, there is logic to that, because instead of flying off the handle, you should be able to see things as clearly as possible. And like, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. You should always have an endless hunger for knowledge and learning. Some of these things are sound principle, but to say there is no emotion, there is no chaos, there is no death, that is all objectively wrong. And like, really
no, it's okay. No, it's okay. When you die, you'll become an invisible, transparent sprite layer. And you'll be able to talk to people and even interact with people. But don't worry, we're unsure if the sequel trilogy is canon or not.
Yeah, okay. Let's get into the really annoying elephant in the room that's been staring at us the entire time. The Disney trilogy sucks. Everything about it sucks. I did a pretty infamous rant about having seen The Last Jedi for free. And, like, oh my god, they're bad. And it's to the point now where Disney's, like, debating about rendering them non-canon and starting over. And I'm like, please don't. You're like, you've already proven you can't do it. Please don't. Just stop. Please.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm going to be the person that says I would like for them to restart and do it and throw them in the garbage and try again, except with actual feeling and actual work this time, instead of just going to your special effects machine and go churn out a movie.
Personally, if it was up to me, I'd go, no, don't. I'd honestly, I'd much rather they just go, you know what? There are 6 Star Wars movies. We done goofed. Please, just, and then just let it rest at that, because the way that modern Hollywood, modern movie makers are going to be, if anything, they're going to do worse if they try it again. So I'm just saying, just let it rest, because,
I mean, with how honestly going on right now, it might not happen either way, since there's like 2 strikes going on with the actors and writers. So there's like no one working at the moment.
Oh no! How terrible.
Oh,
anyway,
no. Yeah, I was about to say that the writers. What writers?
You can't possibly look at the movies of the last couple decades and
oh no,
not be the least bit like, are we really losing anything?
Well, that's why I'm just saying that, like, I don't think anything's being made at anywhere pretty much at this point because of it, because of what's going on. So, we would need a way to until that goes on, until that ends, to see where that leads to. Probably won't do anything. We'll probably just still get out just self-insert garbage and stuff like that, like we've been getting for the past couple of years now. As you're saying, I'm just saying is we won't know until, I guess, it sorts itself out in some way.
Right.
If it sorts itself out.
You know what this means?
Maybe we're just gonna go to maybe we're just gonna live in a world where it's just indie filmmakers now, and people have to actually try again and actually make good movies.
I'm not against this idea, to be clear.
You know what this means is that we're that guy with the glasses is going to go full circle, and Sneck is going to have to actually hire some actors in order to do his April Fool's episodes.
Oh, there's plenty of them out there probably looking for work right now. No, I'm kidding. No, but I don't think that's a bad idea either. If everything just kind of went indie again and, kind of worked itself back. Cause it's kind of like it's like the destruction and then the rebirth of and kind of the rebirth and everyone trying again and not hopefully screwing it up this time. I don't know.
Again, not against this idea.
Mm-hmm. But the one thing that irks me the most, since we're on this topic, is the fact that when they released the new 3 movies, or as they were putting them out, they said everything beyond this, everyone beyond this movie that isn't part of the original trilogy or the prequels is now non-canon. All the books, all the side stories, everything that of the extended universe that they were making, a lot of it, a decent amount of it was actually pretty good to my hearing. I never got to look into a lot of it, but to my knowledge, there's a good amount of actual good stuff out there. It just suddenly became not non-existent, but like if you wanted to watch or read the Star Wars universe, it didn't make sense anymore too, since now they're like, nope, that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yep, they decanonized basically everything outside of the films.
I think the new stuff like the Mandalorian, and I think a couple of the other things that has started after the first of the sequel trilogy, is canon in regards, because it all kind of stems off the same thing.
Okay,
but of course, it's. I mean, The Mandalorian, for what it's worth, has been all right. I thought I watched it and I thought, well, yeah, some parts of it's pretty cool. Well, the main thing I don't like, and the one that's really irked me, is that the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy had this kind of big, like, overarching political intrigue plot. The rebels taking on the Empire, or the Sith Lord taking over, the Sith Lord. Or that no one knew about, now all of a sudden controls the Senate, and now uses his power to make an empire. And it's like, okay, cool. So what are we going to do for the next one? It's like we're going to now try to kill the Empire or try to end the Empire again, and from the new world or from the new Sith Order. And I'm like,
okay, all right,
that's
Clockwork. Clockwork. It has been well documented, and it's said by many people in many places that Disney had no overarching idea what they were going to do. So
they were literally making
honestly,
it up as they went.
Yeah, and so don't. I mean, it's sad and dumb, but it's one of those things of like, yeah, it's well known already that they had no clue what they were doing.
Also, the fact that the first movie, the first of the sequel, is very, very closely reminiscent to the first the first of the original trilogy, which also didn't sit well with me when I first saw it. I was like, why are we making the 2.0 version of this movie? It didn't.
It's a JJ Abrams film. Clockwork. I mean, that's what he does. All he can do is he can make facsimiles of things. He doesn't have any original ideas of his own. I swear.
Nope. He literally got famous for making a show that the entire thing he works off is what's called the mystery box. And don't ask me to explain it in depth because it's a dumb idea. And he literally built the show Lost off this idea and dragged it out for so long that even the most diehard fans of the series were like, okay, into this stupid show now before things get worse. Like, by the end, even the people who liked it hated it.
The entire TLDR, version of it is he's a master of building anticipation, but he has never, ever, ever, ever been able to actually pull it off. I mean, honestly, I would argue that, not for nothing, considering I'm basically, his idea guy himself. I think Sneck's, you're the way that you've kind of hinted at things throughout our April Fool's videos has been better paced and, than anything that JJ has done.
Which is even funnier because it's coming from the same position of, I have no greater plans. I'm literally making this up year to year.
You say that, and yet, there's been situations where we've had plans like for 3 years where like, it'd be really funny if we ended this entire thing on a giant space station and it ends with them having a super weapon that shoots Crystal Pepsi at the planet. And they're like, no, we need to stop it by drinking all the Crystal Pepsi.
Then he'll be back next year. Yes, but don't ruin it. Next year. Hey guys, I'm back. It's almost like there's some deliberate actions being taken, that's for sure.
Yes, I mean, one of these days we're actually going to have to explain and show off like the process that we do in order to write those.
Yeah, I should. I should also do I could do a top 10 countdown of like, this is how the April Fools were originally going to go, and this is how they turned out. Because there is so much changing behind the scenes, you guys don't even know.
There was an entirely additional bit of the Shadow the Hedgehog, which was supposed to end.
Another ending that never saw the light of day.
Yeah, it was supposed to. There was supposed to be a bit that parody Planet of the Apes, where Sneck turns towards the turns and sees just a broken Statue of Liberty, a fat Pikachu, and he's like, "You idiots! You blew it all up!" But we couldn't get the assets in time.
Yep.
So we just axed the entire thing.
So yeah, there's a good. It's a hero, a dark, and a true ending. So there was no actual neutral ending, even though I deliberately made it a point to talk about all the different endings before the endings happened. Also, there was going to be deepest lore about Sneck Jr., who was one of the most pointless cameos I've ever made. We're getting a little off topic here. We'll have an episode where we talk about the April Fool's specials in particular, though.
I mean, that entire thing was basically just me going, it was really funny in Kamen Rider Kiva at the very end when they're like, Grandpa, fingers.
No. End of this show. End of this advertisement for the next Deno movie already. Yeah. You see, the thing is, the point we're making about in a very roundabout Albuquerque-esque fashion is like Star Wars can be absolutely amazing. And the reason it's part of the cultural consciousness, especially in the English-speaking world, as much as it is specifically because that is a true statement. It can be so very good. You have, the first 6 films, you have cool stuff like Knights of the Old Republic. You have stuff that's so bad that it wraps around to just being legendary, like the Christmas special. I mean, it's just amazing.
That actually killed me. I watched the first season of Mandalorian as well, and it killed me when they actually mentioned Life Day. I'm like, oh my God, they're bringing that up. Wow.
That is amazing. That is truly amazing.
I'll say the first season is pretty good. I hear it kind of goes downhill after that. I haven't watched anything after, but I can vouch for the first season.
That's fair.
It's very spaghetti westerny, which, to be perfectly honest, pretty much half, I would argue, of Star Wars is spaghetti western. The other half is, old Flash Gordon serials.
It is. And one of the things I do respect about Star Wars is it embraces that retro, the future is shiny kind of sci-fi. And I miss that aesthetic. We need to bring it back.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it definitely, you can see aspects of it, but I mean, you look at like the main hero ship, the Millennium Falcon, it's a rundown piece of junk. So you kind of get both the grungy, everything in the future sucks. But, at the same time, it's like you literally are in like space Arkansas for a good chunk of the series. So, Yeah, I called Tatooine Space Arkansas. What you can do about it? So, are you going to join us in playing SWTOR there, Clockwork?
I mean, I could load it back up. I don't mind. I haven't really got. I've kind of not. What's the word I'm looking for here? I haven't been playing a lot of MMOs recently. I've been stuck on Street Fighter and been playing some Diablo and stuff like that. So I just haven't had time. I could try to jump on it though again, see where I was at, see what changed. Because because I remember the classes being split and not the because I remember, if I remember correctly, the biggest difference in like the Guardian and the Warrior was one of them, or the Warrior had 2 lightsabers and the Guardian just had one, but it was, tankier and had like defensive buffs and everything. And the Warrior had more like attacky stuff because he had 2 lightsabers.
Actually, that was something I wanted to mention, by the way, because I as I said, I have had the Sith Warrior, and I honestly think that story was far better paced in terms of the way they presented you with like big upgrades like that. Because you basically, in order to get your first lightsaber, your first actual lightsaber, you have to collect these bits of a mosaic in these tombs in order to then bring them to your master, in order to be sent to another tomb, in order to kill a Sith zombie and steal that guy's lightsaber. Whereas for the Sith assassin, it literally is your master going, oh, here's my old lightsaber. Don't drop it somewhere. And she just gives you it. And it's like, wow, that is very anticlimactic. There's no like greater struggle. It's just literally, she just pulls it out of her robe and just hands it to you.
Yeah. I think, and I think the funny thing is with the is when I was doing a Jedi run, I was kind of trying to do like a neutral Jedi run, and where I wasn't overly good, but I wasn't overly bad. And I was just like, I mean, bad Jedi is just, Jedi that's leaning towards the dark side, but doesn't actually go to the dark side. In a way, because I mean, I don't think a game will let you do anything too bad that would, make everybody question your Jedi motives in a way.
I disagree. One of the very first decisions in my playthrough was like, there's this dude controlling the Flesh Raiders, and one of the dialogue options when I find him is, "Hey, let me join you." Yeah, I think that would definitely have made me the bad guy.
I honestly had to wonder because I started a Jedi and I saw the Flesh Raiders. I'm like, this can either be one of two situations. This can either be, like the very beginning of Planet of the Apes where they're like, oh, the monkeys have guns, but they don't really understand what's going on. Or is this Terraform Mars where they're like, yes, we understand. You guys don't think we understand, but we do understand, and that's what makes us dangerous. So
yeah, I'm just trying
I guess ultimately
I'm trying to think back on my playthrough about other stuff, but there's some story bits I don't want to spoil if you guys decide to go play the Sith route, because there is a character you get which has a kind of a funny situation that happens with them, because of the conundrum you put them in. But but I was like, that's pretty story. That's not story specific, but it is character specific. And I believe it is true as well, especially in an MO. I didn't know this could happen, but there are characters that join your team that are permanent characters, but it seems like you can not have them join, or like you can, as you said, the Flesh Raider could join you. I'm like, well, that would have been probably a permanent party member that you could have around you. It would give you dark side points, yes, but you could just, do good light side stuff and, have the character, depending if you're role playing or you're just playing the game or not, or whatever you're wanting to do. But it's just like, I could have the character I'm thinking of, I could easily have not gotten them because there was an option for me to just kill them. If I was just going the murder hobo Sith route, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I'm playing the goodiest of goody good Jedi types, so like, I think the only time I've actually like made it a point to lash out at someone was when the council was like, "Oh, the Twi'lek are technically against Republic rules. We should just kind of let them die." And I was like, "You're terrible for thinking that. Like, what is wrong with you?" And my mentor was like, "Oh, we technically work for the Republic, so you might want to keep that on the DL." And I was like, "But they're condoning this. I'm not okay with this."
Meanwhile, my Sith warrior has moccasins made out of, their dead classmates. Because they're like, yeah, I keep walking on dead corpses.
Walking on sunshine.
Walking on dead people. Whoa.
But yeah, that is a decent MMO, if anything. Out of the ones I have played a bit in the. I haven't put a ton of time into it. I've played a couple of different routes and everything. I think the most I've played though, I think is I got pretty close to max level. I think I might have gotten the max level with my Sith sorcerer, at least in the story. As I remember, there was a point where I didn't think I had much to go through besides doing side quests and or doing missions in planets I never actually visited. And I remember there's some content that I never did because I didn't feel like going through that content, but that was mainly side content too. So yeah. I also do know, I think you get a decent amount of bonuses for certain things if you do decide to subscribe to their thing. I don't remember what exactly it was, but I think it's like faster experience gain and stuff like that too.
Huh.
So if you do enjoy the game, it is behoven to I think that's the word I'm looking for, it would behoove you to subscribe for the bonuses if you plan on playing the game long term, because the bonuses will make the game a bit easier to get through certain things and not have to grind out as much. If the game is around the same when it comes to content like that, as I remember. But it seems like some stuff changes recently, so I'm not 100% sure on that. Because it is a free-to-play game. They have to make their money somehow.
It seems from what I've seen is that basically if you subscribe, and even if you stop subscribing, as long as you have subscribed for at least 1 month, then you get access to pretty much all the expansions and everything, and you can get to max level, and you get a lot of almost all the perks of being an active subscription. But you don't have to be an active subscription. If that makes any sense?
You can play for free. You just get extra stuff if you sub.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fair
much
in that respect. And honestly, I'm having a lot of fun, so I admit I'm tempted.
Well, I mean, that would allow you to get your Twilight.
Yes, that is true facts. You see, Sage was among my first choices, but due to my previous run in KOTOR, dual-handed lightsabers is where it's at. And that's a different class. That's a straight Deeps class. So I swore to myself I would make it so I could unlock Twi'lek and make a crazy backflipping ninja DPS Twi'lek with double lightsabers. That is the goal.
And other doubles. And other double things.
That goes without saying.
Wait, you're talking about the dual lightsaber? You're talking about
Yes.
the one lightsaber in each hand lightsaber?
The one in each hand.
Oh.
If I could do double-ended lightsabers in each hand, that would be even cooler, to be fair.
You could do that.
That would be very ungainly.
You could do that. You can do that if you pick the assassin DPS in the sorcerer route for both. I think both the
well, they have it now where you can actually get some abilities from other classes. I don't 100% know how that works because you have to play a bit further into the game than I am, but yeah, that's like a thing now.
I don't think I've even gotten that, and I'm like level 15 on my warrior. I actually just got to the Sith capital because Darth Varys is like, "Good, you're finally my official apprentice. Now go to the capital so I can, parade you around and, mock the other Darth Lords because they'll be like, hey, look at my cool new main character. She's so cool and strong. Cool. And look at her eyeliner. It's so cool. Gosh, I'm evil." I gotta say too, that is a thing with all the Sith characters. They all seem to have really, really, really good eyeliner, and everyone is like, they all have that down. It's like, enter the Sith Academy. Here's your eyeliner. Here's your heavy makeup. Make sure you apply it because you need to look evil. That's what I got.
I mean, if you're talking about like the character that I made, like I said, I'm not evil in the sense of the murder hobo sense. I'm larger plan, larger scale type of evil.
You know what, Clockwork? If your Sith sorcerer is anything like Zen, I think you being like, yes, I'm a bigger plan person. You will kill more people through your quote unquote bigger plan than if you were actually like trying to kill them.
Maybe, but I'm also not in hell.
Not yet, anyway.
So let's say the theology in terms of afterlife in Star Wars is a bit open to interpretation.
Anyways,
all right. So honestly, I think we've run this topic deliberately into the ground. How about you?
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't really have much else to go on.
Fair enough. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this fair evening, which for most people is a Wednesday morning.
Always a pleasure.
And be sure to all you people at home to like, comment, and subscribe and all that other shilling stuff I'm obligated to do. And thank you to Mr. Clockwork Fiction and Mr. Ditaku for being awesome, as always.
As always.
What I do.
And we're going to see you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for listening to the Tomodachi Brothers Review Podcast, produced and recorded by the Hipster Snack, Ritaku, and Cog. Sound design and editing by executive producer Sean Taylor Brown with Cog Sound Engineering. Music written and performed by Sean Taylor Brown with Costas Voss of Core Insight Studio on the drums. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.